Hi there, I'm your host June. Today we're excited to bring you the Matrix Success webinar, where you'll hear expert advice and tips to help you stay on top of your study goals. Before we begin, let's meet today's expert. For this webinar, we recommend you have a pen and paper on hand to jot down our tips. Now that you're ready, let's start the webinar.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. Today we're exploring the Opportunity Class, also known as the OC, and Selective School tests, two essential assessments for academically talented students. These tests play a significant role in educational advancement. So our focus will be on understanding what these tests involve, the skills they assess, and how we can support your child's preparation. To start, let's look at the OC and Selective School tests. This is a placement test for academically talented Year 4 and Year 6 students. Computer-based testing will begin from 2025. These placement tests for opportunity classes and selective high schools will move from single version paper tests to computer-based exams. The computer-based exams will mostly be held in external testing centres. This change will apply to parents seeking placement for their child to start in an opportunity class or selective high school from Term 1 2026. This transition is an important development as it impacts the way students interact with the test environment. For families planning for OC or selective placement starting in Term 1 of 2026, computer-based practice tests will be available for students to familiarise themselves with the new test format and features, including reasonable adjustments for students with a disability, medical conditions, or temporary illnesses. The department will also publish other resources throughout 2024 to help students prepare for these placement tests. The introduction of practice tests and other resources throughout 2024 will help students adjust to this new format, building both ease and confidence. The OC test is structured into 3 sections: reading, mathematical reasoning, and thinking skills. Each section targets a specific skill set to assess students' abilities in various ways. The first part is reading. This test assesses the students' reading ability, including understanding of the main ideas, audience, and purpose of a text, and the ability to draw inferences from a text. The second part of the exam is mathematical reasoning. This test assesses the student's ability to apply mathematical understanding and knowledge to problems, with questions being drawn from a range of mathematical content area. The third and final part of the OC exam is thinking skills. This test assesses the student's ability in critical thinking and problem solving. The reading test questions assess various reading skills through a diverse range of texts. Assesses proficiency and comprehension, literal and inferred information, ideas and meanings in texts. Analyse and interpret a range of texts and answer related questions. The texts include different genres such as non-fiction, fiction, poetry, magazine articles, and reports. The reading test comprises of 25 questions. Students have 30 minutes to answer these questions, and the weighting is 33.3%. The mathematical reasoning test assesses students' ability to use mathematical understanding and knowledge to solve problems from a range of maths topics. Calculators are not to be used in the mathematical reasoning test or any other test section. The test component of mathematical reasoning has 35 questions, allowing a time of 40 minutes. The weighting is 33.3%. The final part of the OC exam is the thinking skills exam. This evaluates the student's critical thinking and problem-solving abilities through various question types. It also assesses abilities in spatial and logical reasoning. In the thinking skills test, there is a total of 30 questions over 30 minutes, weighing 33.3%. The Selective High School Placement exam is similar to the OC exam in that the components of reading, mathematical reasoning, and thinking skills are the same. There is an additional section that includes writing. The write-in test is a component only found in the selective high school exam. This consists of a topic which students must write about according to the instructions. It will assess the creativity of students' ideas and their ability to write effectively for a purpose and audience. The test will also assess grammar, punctuation, spelling, and vocabulary. Writing must address the given topic, otherwise it will be marked lower regardless of fluency or creativity. The selective exam is different to the OC exam in that the weighting in all four components of the selective exam is 25%. The reading section has 16 questions, 2 questions have multiple parts to answer, and time allowed is 40 minutes. In the mathematical reasoning section, there are 35 questions and again 40 minutes to complete this part. In the thinking skills question section, there are 40 questions with 40 minutes allowed. The writing section has only 1 question and time allocated is 30 minutes and it is an open response question. Here are some key dates for entry into 2026. Applications open the 7th of November 2024 and close the 21st of February 2025. The OC and selective placement tests run between the 2nd and the 4th of May 2025. There is a make-up test date for those who missed the original date on the 19th of May 2025. Placement outcomes and offers are released in Term 3, 2025. Students begin attending their OC or selective school from Term 1, 2026. Please look at the future test dates for the years 2026, 2027 and 2028. Looking at changes for 2026 entry, these new tests offer several improvements. Computer-based testing allows for a more engaging experience with expanded options for scheduling the test and an extended application period. Results will also be available to parents and carers earlier, providing greater transparency. For the 2026 entry, results will be available by Term 3 of 2025. These results, along with placement offers, are based on each student's test performance and their school preferences. Parents should note that test scores or ranks are not disclosed, so the results will focus on performance bands rather than specific scores. Now, let's focus on the qualities that students who pass these tests typically possess. Successful students often share common characteristics. They tend to be avid readers, logical thinkers, and problem solvers with strong comprehension and mental arithmetic skills. A growth mindset, which is the ability to embrace challenges as learning opportunities, is also essential for high achievement. Parents often ask, how can they support their child's preparation? Building a solid foundation in English and maths is key. Encourage reading, make it enjoyable, and expose them to a range of texts. For example, use resources like the Premier's Reading Challenge book lists and appropriate children's news articles. Engaging in discussions about books is another great way to strengthen their comprehension. In maths, a hands-on approach can make a big difference. Practice mental math strategies, encouraging problem solving through logical steps, and focusing on quick recall of number facts. Fun maths puzzles like magic squares and Sudoku are great for reinforcing these skills in an enjoyable way. At Matrix, we offer a range of courses to support your child's foundational skills in maths and English. Our specially designed OC and selective prep courses target the specific skills and question types found on these tests. We focus on theory, familiarising students with test formats and providing detailed explanations for each question. With ample practice, students build their skills and confidence under exam-like conditions. In English, we begin with theory. We learn how to be an effective reader using comprehensive techniques and strategies. Secondly is application. We apply these techniques and strategies to different text types and passages. Thirdly is reapplication. We use the passage or text as an exemplar and learn to write by using the passage as a source of inspiration. Fourth, practice. Assess your comprehension and writing skills through diagnostic exams under timed conditions. We do this 3 times per term. And lastly is feedback. We address identified learning gaps and how to bridge these gaps. Mathematics. Firstly is theory. You gain in-depth knowledge and understanding of key mathematical concepts. 2 is application. Cement your understanding by solving a variety of questions. Third is practice. Assess your depth of understanding through diagnostic tests under timed conditions, again 3 times per term. And lastly is feedback, where we address identified learning gaps. For OC and selective prep, our number 1 is theory. Understand the skill category and how it is applied to all questions. Second is experiment. Guided discovery through the theory book activities and examples as a class. Third is exposure. Learn where the skill is applied, see problems that students will encounter and the methods to fast-track their working out. Last is practice. Revise and practice the skills with new and unfamiliar problems to extend critical thinking abilities in tri-weekly OC test-style practice tests. Please see the graphs below and see how, by helping your student build a strong foundation in English and maths, you can become strong in mathematical reasoning and thinking skills. Our term courses are comprehensive and carefully structured to ensure that each student's learning needs are met. The Matrix Plus courses come with theory books, diagnostic reviews and detailed reports, along with lesson videos for further study report. This setup allows students to review and consolidate their learning effectively. The Matrix OC Prep course is structured to cover each test section with 48 critical thinking skills developed over 18 months. Each term builds on the last, targeting areas of growth to ensure students are fully prepared for the test. This structured approach allows students to focus on specific areas and make steady progress over time. Our OC classes commence in Year 3. Please look at the diagram below to see the progression from Year 3 to Year 4, and then at the end of Year 4 into the selective prep program that carries on into Year 5 and into Year 6. For the selective prep course, we dedicate 1 term to each section of the test, with additional focus on mathematical reasoning across 2 terms. This approach helps students achieve a thorough understanding of the material and build confidence through practice. In the final term, students take part in mock exams, which provide a valuable opportunity to experience the exam setting and practice their time management skills.
My name's Kieran. I'm the primary coordinator here at Matrix Education. I'm thrilled to have you all here for this exclusive webinar where I'll be introducing you to our OC and selective prep courses. As the primary coordinator with over 11 years of teaching experience and 5 of those being as an assistant principal, I've had the pleasure of developing and refining resources here that can help students gain a real edge in these competitive exams. Today I'll be walking through with you some common test questions that can come up in both the OC and selective tests. I'll also be conducting a mini lesson where I'll guide you through the solutions step by step. This is a great chance for you to get a feel for how our course works and how it can make a difference in mastering the skills needed for these exams. This is just a glimpse into the core materials in our program that we provide and how these resources can support students in strengthening their skills, building their confidence, and reaching their full potential in order to ace their OC and selective exam. So let's dive in. I'm excited to share these resources with you. So we're going to start with some OC test type questions. So this first question here is a sample of one of the questions they could be asked, and this one involves several steps. So in this example, students will be given a set of questions where they need to read and match an extract to these statements that could relate to one of the texts or more. So this is just one of the extracts. I'm not going to read all of them, but our job now is to read this extract together, and we need to match, because it's extract A, we need to put an A in any of these boxes in which this text matches. So let's have a quick read of this extract together. As a wildlife conservationist dedicated to protecting the magnificent Bengal tiger, every encounter with these majestic creatures fills me with a mix of anticipation, awe, and responsibility. The deep forests of India have always been my sanctuary, where I immerse myself in the quest to safeguard the future of these iconic big cats. On a misty morning while trekking through the heart of the Ben-Gavar National Park, I had an unforgettable encounter that still resonates within me. The sun filtered through the dense foliage, casting a magical glow on the forest floor. My senses were heightened, attuned to the slightest rustle or call of the wild. Suddenly, a hush fell over the forest as nature itself held its breath. I froze, realizing that something extraordinary was about to unfold. And then, like a mirage materializing from the depths of the jungle, I caught sight of a pair of amber eyes piercing through the foliage. The air crackled with excitement as the majestic Bengal tiger emerged, its powerful yet graceful movements captivating my soul. So now that we've read the text, let's go back to the beginning of the questions here, and now we need to match A to whatever we think suits that text. So the first question there, it says, it uses a lot of descriptive language to describe the writer's experience. So let's go back in the text and let's look to see if we can find some descriptive language. So definitely when I was reading through it, I was hearing a lot of description. So the sunlight filtered through the dense foliage, casting a magical glow on the forest floor. It's very descriptive. There's more with I caught sight of a pair of amber eyes piercing through the foliage. So this piece of text does definitely have a lot of descriptive language that describes the writer's experience. So the writer is telling us, as the reader, that we're seeing all these things happening. So definitely, question number 1 matches this extract. So what we need to do in the test is put, because it's extract A, put an A that matches that response. Now let's go through the other 6 responses and see if it matches the extract as well, because there could possibly be more than one. So the next one says, describes an encounter with a tiger in nature. Well, yes, it does, doesn't it? It tells us that whilst they were trekking through the national park, they had an unforgettable encounter that still resonates with them. And as we know, if we read on, the Bengal tiger emerged. So does it describe an encounter with a tiger in nature? Well, yes, it does. So because that also matches, we also need to put an A there as well. Let's go through the other 5 to see if it matches this text, because it still can. Discusses both the habitat and diet of a tiger species. No, because it wasn't an informative text, so we definitely know it's not that one. So no for that one. Makes links between the importance of conservation and culture. Really not any talk about conservation, so it's definitely not that one either. Describes an organisation that works to protect tigers. No, it doesn't. Describes the physical appearance of Bengal tigers in detail. Well, no, it's just descriptive language because it's telling us a story, so it's actually not describing what they look like in detail. So it wouldn't be that one. It could match another extract, which we're not going to read, but it would possibly be that one. And the last one mentions protected natural areas where tigers are safer. There's no mention at all of any protected natural areas. So that is not one either. So from what we can gather, after just reading one of the extracts, we know that this extract A matches 2 of our responses. So this is a sample of one of the types of questions in the reading OC test. So let's go on to mathematical reasoning now. So we're just going to go through 2 common test questions and let's try and solve these together. So in this first question, let's read it together. So 7 years ago, the combined ages of Jimmy and Jason totaled 32. What will the sum of their ages be in 8 years' time? So what the most important thing that we recognize here is that we underline or highlight some important information. So we know that 7 years ago, they were 32 in total. All right, so we have 2 people here. So what we'll need to do in this first step is start with 32 because that's what they were 7 years ago. And because we're talking about, well, right now, and then what will they be in 8 years' time, the first step is to work out how old the combined ages are now. So because there are 2 people and it was 7 years ago, we need to add 7 twice, or we can put 7 together and we know it's 32 plus 14. So if we solve that, 32 plus 7 is 40, sorry about that, is 46. Then the next step, now that we know that they're 46 right now, the question also asks the sum of the ages in 8 years' time. So we need to get 46, and because it's 2 people again, we need to add plus 8, or we can add 16. That's also an option, and we know that the answer is 62. So the answer there is B, 62. Let's look at another question here, and this is very common in both the OC and selective tests, where you'll be asked a question and there'll be several statements like we can see here, and the multiple choice responses will ask you which statements are true. So this is very, very common. So the question reads, I spin the wheel shown below. Which of the statements below is true? So probably the best, what we believe is the best way to solve this is to actually evaluate each statement individually, and we teach the students how to do this. So let's go through each statement, and like we did with the reading one, let's put a ticker across in the ones that are true. So the first one is the spinner is equally likely to land on purple and orange. So we look at purple and orange here, that we know that, well, yeah, they're both a quarter of the spinner. So are they both equally likely to land on each other? Well, yes. So we can put a tick because that one is true. The next one there is there is a 25% chance of the spinner landing orange. If we use our knowledge of what a quarter is and convert that into a percentage, that would be 25%. So statement 2 is also correct. Number 3 there is a chance, there's a 50% chance of the spinner landing on red. Now, if we look at this spinner, we know that this is the red space right here, and it's not really halfway. Well, it's not halfway of the spinner. So, and we know 50% is half. So is there a half a chance that it's going to land on red? Well, no. So we definitely know that this one is false. And the last one there says it is impossible for the spinner to land on the color brown. We look at the colors in the spinner. There's actually no brown there. So is it impossible for the spinner to land on the color brown? Well, yeah, because there's no color brown. So what we can gather now, we've done this step by step, is that statements 1, 2, and 4 are the only true ones. It's really important because these questions will only ask for true statements. And so 1, 2, and 4 is B. So the answer is B. Now, the final type of question that may come up in the OC test is a thinking skills. This is really important, we believe here at Matrix, to explicitly teach the students, as this does tend not to get explicitly taught in primary school. So this is what sets our programs apart. So we're going to go through 3 of these types of questions because they are very specific to the OC and the selective test. And I'm going to show you some strategies in which we teach students on how to tackle these problems. So the first one here is a type of syllogism which we go through with students, and there's a step-by-step process we can use to work these out. So let's read the question first and let's step by step solve it. The police are trying to solve a crime. Percy is a suspect, but so are his friends Ringo and Millie. They each give a statement to the police. Ringo, I didn't steal the candy. Millie, I didn't steal the candy. Percy, Ringo stole the candy from the shop. If only one of the friends is telling the truth, who stole the candy? So let's now solve this problem step by step with our strategy that we can use to work this one out. So really important that we mention that only one of the friend is telling the truth. So we need to work out that if one person is telling the truth, we can find out who stole the candy. So best practice to do this, we'll do a little table. So we will name each of the friends, so Ringo, Millie, and Percy. And let's see if we can satisfy and work out who is telling the truth and who stole the candy. So let's start with Ringo, right? So we're going to match Ringo's, if Ringo is telling the truth to the statements that they make. So if Ringo is telling the truth, that means that he didn't steal the candy, all right? So he's telling the truth. Millie says, I didn't steal the candy. So if we're saying that Ringo stole the candy, that means that Millie is also telling the truth because she says she didn't steal the candy. And Percy also says that Ringo stole the candy. So if Ringo stole it, Percy is actually telling the truth too. So that won't satisfy our problem because only one person is telling the truth. So we know it can't be Ringo who stole the candy. Let's try Millie now. So if Millie was telling the truth, if Millie stole the candy, let's see if they were telling the truth or not. So if Millie stole the candy. Ringo says, I didn't steal the candy. So he's telling the truth. Millie says, I didn't. She's lying because we're saying that she did steal the candy. Percy says, Ringo stole the candy from the shop. Well, Ringo didn't steal the candy. We're saying Millie does. So that means that Percy is lying. So from what we can determine right now, that Millie stole the candy because that would satisfy the formula of one person telling the truth, and that one person telling the truth would be Ringo, because saying he didn't. Let's just double check just to make sure they're right, because it's really important to double check our responses to make sure that we have the right response. So if, argument's sake, if Percy stole the candy, Ringo will be telling the truth because he says he didn't. Millie will be telling the truth because she said she didn't. And Percy would obviously be lying because saying Ringo stole it. But there are two people telling the truth here, and only one person is telling the truth. We're looking for one person that's telling the truth. So we know that the answer that we came up with, which is correct, is Millie, that Millie stole the candy. Really tricky question, which requires a formula to work it out. Let's do the next type of question now that could come up in the thinking skills. So let's look at this second question, which asks us to evaluate reasoning from a logical statement. So the logical statement in the OC and selective tests are always in a box, as you can see here. And this particular one says, whoever becomes head girl, which is really important, has leadership and presentation skills. Like the similar question, previous question, it asks to, if this is true, which one of the following statements must also be true? So we're basing that this is the true logic, that whoever becomes head girl must have presentation and leadership skills. So the best process to solve these types of questions is to go through A, B, C, D and tick them or cross them off as we go. So the first one in A there says, Ella has leadership and presentation skills. She must become head girl. And it's really important that we read the entire 4 statements and in what order as well the logic is being presented to us, because it's also important, and we'll look at that just a little bit later. So if we look at option A, it's actually saying that, yeah, well, she does have leadership and presentation skills, but it says that she must become head girl. In reality, it doesn't mean that she has those skills that she has to be head girl. She might actually not want to be a head girl. So if that is true, it can't be true, because Ella might turn around and say, well, no, I don't want to be head girl, even though I have leadership and presentation skills. This is how tricky some of these questions are, and how you have to really use and evaluate your reasoning to go to get these correct. So it's definitely not that one. If we look at B, and B and D are sort of similar as in the fact that they both start with Ella did not become head girl, and they alternate as to reasons why. So Ella did not become head girl because she cannot have, and so that means that she cannot have leadership skills. Well, it's possible that she actually has leadership skills, but doesn't have presentation skills. And we can say that vice versa in the last response, where it says Ella did become head girl. Did not become head girl because she cannot have presentation skills. So she actually may have that or may not, and may have leadership skills instead. So these ones sort of cross each other out, which leaves wrong response, which is C. Ella does not have leadership skills. She cannot become a head girl. Well, yes, because to become head girl, you have to have leadership and presentation skills. So she definitely doesn't have leadership skills, which means that she therefore cannot be head girl, but which means that C is the correct response for this one. So as I said before, it's really tricky, and this is why it's really important that we provide students with these strategies and programs to solve these types of tricky questions. Let's go through one more here that might pop up in the OC test. So this is an example where you get some information, and we call this finding procedures, and there's a strategy to solve these problems. So let's have a read of the question first, and let's go through how we solve it. So it says here, Patrick is selecting the after-school clubs he wants to attend. The co-curricular timetable is shown below throughout Monday to Friday, as you can see. Patrick wants him to attend an after-school club each day apart from Tuesday, which is important information because that's family time. So we know that Tuesday is already out. Patrick would like to do gymnastics, badminton, squash, and dance. So there's 4 activities that we need to take in consideration to solve this problem. On which day must Patrick do badminton? All right, so there's only one of those days in which he'll have to take badminton, and we'll work out that's because of what runs on each day. So let's look at Monday first. So this is the first day of the week. So let's just say he does take badminton on a Monday. Does that mean he can do gymnastics, squash, and dance on another day? So take out Tuesday, as we said, because he can't go. Can he do? He can do squash on a Wednesday, so that satisfies the solution. He could do gymnastics on a Thursday, and he can do dance on a Friday. So does Monday work? Well, yes, it does. So let's just leave that on there on the screen because we can already work out that that's probably going to be the answer. But as I say, it's always important and we teach students to go through and just double check to see if any of the other solutions match. So, because some of the questions may have a response of 2, so Monday or Wednesday, for example. This one doesn't, but it could possibly. So it's important to always double check. So let's just, for example, so if he does badminton on a Thursday, it doesn't run Wednesdays. We know it can't be Wednesday either because it doesn't run because there's no badminton there. So on Thursday, okay, can he do dance on Friday? Is he able to do squash? Well, squash doesn't run on a Monday, so where we actually can't do the Thursday. So we know that the Thursday response is incorrect. Last one there, if we check, is Friday. Can you do squash on a Friday? Well, yeah. Badminton on a Friday. Yep, badminton is there. That means he'd be able to do. Can he do squash on a Thursday? No. Wednesday he can. Yep. Definitely not Monday. So we can do squash. Can he do dance on another day? So if we're doing badminton on Friday, we can't do it then. There's no dance then. There's no dance on Monday either. So Friday doesn't work at all. So the only response to that is the correct answer is a Monday. Let's now go through some common test type questions for the selective test. Very similar to the OC, but obviously that next level. So let's start with reading once again, and similarly to the OC test, you will be asked there'll be several different sections asking you to read and answer questions based on your reading knowledge. In this sample here, which is different to probably most test students are familiar with, once again, we are given a variety of possible responses, and we need to match the extracts to one of the responses up here. So in this is different to a little bit to the OC, where we're just given some titles of what could possibly be the title of each of the extracts. We're only going to go through two today, but there would be a full list, and you need to match the possible title to the extract that you read. And different to the first time that we did in the OC, there's only going to be one response. So let's go through the types of titles that we could have. So the first one there is A is modern meat eating. B is, are plants really a sustainable alternative? C, the future of meat eating. D, lab-grown meat, a meaty milestone. E, why miss out on meat? F, on not eating meat. And G, a multicultural history of meatless eating. So the best way to do this, once you've read the titles, is now to read the extract, and let's see which one matches most appropriately. So number one here, humans are widely known as omnivores. That is, we eat both meat and plants. However, many people around the world choose not to eat meat. This can be for cultural, health, environmental, or ethical reasons. Not eating meat can mean following a vegetarian or vegan diet. Vegetarians do not eat meat, but may still consume other animal products like milk and eggs, while vegans avoid all animal products together. So now we need to match A, B, C, D, E, F, G to what one suits that extract. So it doesn't really talk about modern meat eating, so it's definitely not the first one. Is it telling us about a sustainable alternative to meat? Well, no. Is it talking about the future of meat eating? Well, not yet. Lab-grown meat, a meaty milestone. Not really talking about lab-grown stuff, so it can't be that one. Why miss out on meat? It sounds like a very persuasive sort of topic, so would not be that one because we're not persuaded to not eat meat in the passage. Is it about on not eating meat? Well, yeah, it could possibly, because it talks about vegetarians and vegans that don't eat meat, so it could possibly be that one. Or is it a multicultural history of meatless eating? Doesn't talk about, although it mentions something about being cultural, it doesn't really give us a history of it. So that's why it's really tricky that we go through and match each one to the correct response. So for here, it's going to be F as the correct response here. For another example, let's read number 2. Today, it's becoming more common to not eat meat. In recent years, more and more people around the world have started to adopt meatless diets. Supermarkets now have many more vegetarian and vegan options than ever before. For instance, you might have seen plant-based burgers, sausages, and dairy-free ice cream in your local grocery store. Social media and documentary have also played a big role in spreading awareness about the benefits of a meatless diet. So let's hear, is it about modern meat eating? Or possibly, because it does talk about the options that we have at the moment. So it could possibly be that. Are plants really a sustainable alternative? Well, it talks about plant-based, but doesn't really talk about the sustainability part of this title. So probably not going to be that one. The future of meat eating, well, yeah, it does talk about what's happening, but not really anything about the future. So definitely not, it's probably not going to be that one. Lab-grown meat, no, it can't be lab because we don't talk about lab-grown at all. Why miss out on meat? Once again, it's not persuading us to miss out on meat or why the purpose of not doing it. Can't be F because we already chosen that one. And once again, multicultural history doesn't really talk about anything multicultural. So what we can assume from that, it's about modern eating meat and what the options are that we have in the modern world. So we know that it's going to be A. So that's what this type of question will ask in the selective test. So let's go through mathematical reasoning, because it is also the second test type in the selective, much like the OC. So let's go through some of these questions here. So the first one there, Augie discovers the smallest 4-digit number that is a multiple of both 3 and 4. She then adds together the digits of that number. What is the result? So once again, really important that we highlight the important information. So it's a 4-digit number, all right, and it's both a multiple of 3 and 4. Once we work out that's our first step. So mathematical reasoning questions will ask you to do several steps. Then we need to add those 2 digits together at the end. So let's do the first step first, all right? What is the smallest 4-digit number that is both a multiple of 3 and 4? So let's think about the smallest 4-digit number that we could possibly have, and it would be 1,000. That's the smallest one you can have. There's nothing smaller than that. That's 4-digit. We need to find out what's a multiple of both 3 and 4. So the best way to do this is find the lowest common multiple. So the lowest common multiple of 3 and 4, well, it's just easy to multiply them together. So 3 times 4 is 12. So that is the lowest common multiple. Now, best way, because 1,000 is the smallest 4-digit number we can have, no matter what. Let's see if this goes into 12 equally. To work out if 1,000 is the actual smallest 4-digit number. And we know if we divide that it's not. It's 83 and it's remainder of 4, sorry. So it cannot be 1,000. But what we can do with this knowledge is that if we round this number here, 83, to 84, because that's going to be the number that we're trying to look for, that will find us the lowest common, lowest 4-digit. If we times that by 12, that's going to give us 1,008. All right, and then we know that is the smallest possible 4-digit number that is both a multiple of 3 and 4. So we've ticked off the first step to this question. The second step now asks us to add these digits together of that number. That means that we need to add each of these digits up. So 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 8. We know that's an easy problem, which is 9. So the response to here is A, 9. Second question here. In the selective test, we may get an image where we need to use decipher information to solve the question. Much like the OC test, the selective test will have questions like this, where they're given a bunch of statements, like here, and then you have to work out which ones are true. And then obviously work out which of the bottom responses, A to E, are correct. So let's go through each of these statements together. So the first statement there says the average monthly temperature was above 25 degrees in 6 of the months. So easy, best way is to mark this is 25 here. So let's mark that line here, straight as possible. It's asking the 6 of these months were above 25 degrees, really important. So we have 1 here, 2, 3 that are above, 4, 5, and 6 that are above. September is at, so we don't count that one at all. So are there 6 months that were above 25? Yes, there was. So statement 1 is correct. Statement 2, the change in average monthly temperature between March and May was greater than the change in average monthly temperature between August and October. So several steps for this one that we need to work out. So First thing that we need to do is look at the months of March, or months between March and May, which is 3, March, April and May, and get those temperatures down. So what we can assume that the highest temperature was in March. The dot is in between 25 and 30, so we can assume that halfway between there is 27.5 degrees. Because we're trying to find the difference, we're going to subtract. The lowest temperature out of those 3 was in May, which was on the dot of 20, so it's minus 20. So we know that the difference between those months were 7.5 degrees. Let's get a different color and let's go through the months of August and October. Between there's 3 of them. We get the highest one, which is October. So let's say October is very similar. It's 27.5. And the lowest temperature was in August, which was 15 there, which will equal 12.5 degrees. So go back to the statement. The change in the average monthly temperature between March and May is greater than the change between August and October. Well, no, because this change is bigger than that one. So that is incorrect. And now let's look at our last one there. The average monthly temperature in June was 17.5 degrees. So let's look at June, which is there. And was it June 17.5? So we look at there's 10, it's 15. Is it in between? Well, yes, it is. So it's halfway between, so it is 17.5. So that one is correct. Then deducing all that information, statements 1 and 3 are the ones that are telling the truth. Remember, these types of questions are only asking for the truth. So statements 1 and 3 only is C. That is the correct statement. Finally, let's look at some of the thinking skills samples of questions that you can have that pop up in the selective test. So let's look at one of the first thinking skills questions here. So once again, we're being given information in a box, which is the logic that we need to follow to solve the problem. So let's read the box. Tina tells her brother George breaks out in hives whenever he goes too close to a raspberry bush. When Tina gets home from school one day, she sees George is covered in hives. All right, so what we teach the students here is that we need to work out what the logic is. And it could be simple as when George plays near the raspberry bush, he gets hives. So that is what we're going to base our response on here. So it says here, Tina says George really doesn't listen. He's been told about 10 times not to play near the raspberry bush. If the information in the box is true, which is here, so all this is true, which option below is a mistake that Tina has made? All right, so we're going to evaluate a reasoning based on the logic. Remember, if George plays in the raspberry bush, he has hives. All right, and he definitely has hives. Definitely has them. Okay, so A, George hadn't been told 10 times not to play near the raspberry bush. It's really not information that we're getting in the box, so we don't know if that is a mistake that was made on or not. George's hives could have been from allergic reaction from something he ate. So we know he has hives, but the information there is that we don't really know if he actually ate something else. So, and it doesn't really say in the box that Tina saw her brother playing near the raspberry bush. So be interesting to see if that is the correct response. C says George didn't hear the instruction to not play near the raspberry bush. Well, once again, we're not too sure because it doesn't really say anything inside the box, which is true, that he hadn't heard the instruction to play near the raspberry bush, based on also a response in B there where he could have got hives with something else. And D says George was not covered in hives, but something else. It actually says here that he was covered in hives, so it's definitely not that one. So we know that As a result, that B is the mistake that Tina made, that George's hives could have been from an allergic reaction to something that he ate, to something else. Let's go to the next one here. So this type of question is evaluating an argument where we ask our students to use the information that's given to us, create a premise and make a conclusion based on that premise, which is going to strengthen an argument. So in this argument here, Sasha is telling everyone to adopt puppies from the shelters rather than buying them from the pet stores. When you buy a puppy from a pet store, you're supporting the illegal puppy farms that mistreat their dogs. He says, to avoid supporting these awful businesses, we need to adopt our puppies from shelters instead. Which statement, if true, most weakens? So we're looking for an argument here that weakens Sasha's argument. So once again, using our critical thinking skills of using this information that we get and then trying to find something that's weakening the argument. So let's look at A. So more people are adopting puppies lately instead of buying them from pet stores. So does this help the argument that puppy farms and pet stores are mistreating their dogs? Should we be purchasing? Well, more people are adopting puppies lately instead of buying them, so it's probably strengthens the argument. So it's not one that weakens, all right? So it's not that we're adopting puppies and not buying them from the pet store. So that wouldn't be something that's weakening Sasha's argument. B, some shelters will put dogs down if they don't find homes for them. So if we had that statement within here, would that weaken it? Well, yes, because we're talking about here that we should adopt our puppies from shelters instead. And this one is talking about how shelters can put their dogs down if they can't find homes for them. So that could weaken the argument. But just to double check, let's look at the other two responses. People who run puppy farms will eventually be fined for doing illegal business anyway. Really not weakening the arguments, probably strengthening a little bit. So not going to be that one. And last response there is many people who buy puppies from pet stores still end up happy, healthy, and healthy dogs. Could be something that weakens the argument. But remember, the premise of the argument is to that puppy farms mistreat puppies. So it's not really talking about Sasha's argument the greatest. So if we go back to this response here, that some shelters will put dogs down if they don't buy homes for them, that is going to weaken the argument, the fact that we should buy from puppy shelters. The next question here, and it was the last one for this session today. This one is a bit different, where it looks at finding patterns and puzzles of things that we see. So in this example here, it says Marissa has a patterned carpet. She accidentally spilt some paint on it. All right, so we can see that in the green paint on the picture there. Which shape could replace the top middle tile to continue the pattern? All right, and that's going to represent there by the question mark. The best way to solve this problem is to break it down into the components that we have. So we have the L shape, as we can see in each of the tile, and the semicircle, which is in each of the tiles as well. So what we can determine there is, if we look at some patterns within the tiles, we can see here that each column here, if we look at the first column, the L actually remains in the same place, right? So it remains there, so it's the same. Does that match to the other column that we can see? Yeah, the L is actually staying the same. So what we can assume already is that because we can see a little bit from the study here, that the L is going to be the same for the middle column of tiles too. That's the first component. Second component is the semicircle. What we know, we can see the semicircle here, that it's going anti-clockwise to the next spot. See if it matches for this column here. We're going anti-clockwise. Yeah, we go here to here to here, which is anti-clockwise. So if we're going anti-clockwise here, we can just do the reverse. So if it's clockwise, it'll be here and it'll be up here. So we're looking for the L shape here and the semicircle. This is just an example of some of the tough and complex questions that can come up in both the OC and selective tests, and some strategies in which we use to solve them. And as you see, it's really important that we explicitly get taught how to solve these types of problems. So thank you.
To support both students and parents, our Matrix primary team has put together blog articles with tips for success in the OC and selective tests. These articles cover essential strategies and common pitfalls, providing a valuable resource for families. You can find these articles on our website. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this has provided a helpful overview of the OC and selective school tests and how Matrix education can support your child. We're here to answer any questions you may have about these tests or our courses. Best of luck.